Good morning, everyone. Welcome into our Saturday morning coaches show. I'm Dalton Julian, and I have Coach Greg Owens with us this morning to talk Wildcats football after a big senior night game. That's always exciting and fun, and that was going on last night at Prim Stadium. I recognize not only the football guys, but also all the members of the band and Blue Blazes, cheerleaders, student council. Just a nice big group, and always enjoy that. Also enjoyed the football game, victory for the Wildcats over Corsicana, and a tight one, 28-21, exciting game that went right down to the end. So that was a lot of fun as well. So we'll talk about all that, but as always, we'll kind of dash into everything else that's going on. And we'll start with volleyball. They had a bye last night. They're in first place in the district, 9-1, 12-6 for the season. This is a big week if they intend to wrap up the district championship, as they'll have Hallsville coming. Well, actually, they go to Hallsville, and one of the best teams in the district, not called Lady Cats. Actually, they are Lady Cats, but we'll be playing them, and we've got an advantage over them, but we'll go to Hallsville on Tuesday. And then on Friday, Longview, very athletic team, comes in that we beat on the road in 5. So that will be a tough one. And so a big week for the volleyball team. Cross country has the regional championship for cross country. It's being held Monday. I think we run in the afternoon, Coach. I'm sure but we'll get you to weigh in just a second. That's over in a part of the world where I was raised, over in Oak Cliff at the Jesse Owens Sports Complex. So that's over in an area I'm quite familiar with. It certainly wasn't there when I was around, but they built that up later. And the Lady Cats and also Wildcat Evan Patrick scheduled to go and run in that regional championship. Wildcats basketball scrimmage today at Irving MacArthur, both JV and varsity. They'll scrimmage against the host, Prosper Rock Hill, their new school over there, and then South Lake Carroll. And all that starts at around 10 this morning. And the Wildcats will open the season 1 week from today in the afternoon at 4 o'clock. They'll have sub-varsities before that to get things going, probably at about 1 or something like that. And that will be against a school that may sound strange to your ears, Tyler Legacy. We used to call it Tyler Lee. So that's Tyler Legacy coming in next Saturday for the Wildcats to open their season at home. And the Lady Cats basketball team was supposed to play Sherman last night at home, and that game was canceled. Sherman's whole team quarantined. And so the Lady Cats will open the season on Tuesday, playing Mount Vernon, varsity only, and I believe that game starts at 5 o'clock. That was that way on the schedule when it was supposed to be JV and varsity. So I'll double check that, but that's my belief that will be a 5 o'clock game. Coach, all that sound good to you? Does that
Sounds
sound right?
Good. I don't know. It's a mouthful, isn't it? I mean, every week I do an athletic update and send it out to you guys, and y'all think I do it for y'all, but I really do it for me.
Yeah.
Because it's all, when you start crossing over all these sports, it gets a little crazy. But the volleyball team is, I think we're 2 up right now in the district. Good. I believe that's right. And we'll go to Hallsville. Hallsville's in 3rd place. Longview's in 4th place right now in our district, and we're in 1st. So it's big games. Those schools are motivated to win, to hold their spots, or maybe move up a spot, and we're motivated as well to get the number 1 seed. So we feel confident about that. Congratulations to those ladies. It's a big deal, and so we're excited for them, what's going on in the volleyball program. So keep on rolling. Basketball's cranking up, you talked about. Cross country's wrapping up, kind of heading into regionals. So excited for our girls, especially. First time we think that they've ever won a district championship, and I think I mentioned that to you last week. But excited for them, the opportunity they have to go to regional, and quite a few young girls there. So they expect a lot out of them still in years to come. Wrapped up 7th grade football this last Thursday night. With some stuff going on there. Didn't have a B team, so it was kind of a fun night on Thursday. We played our 8th grade B, who lost a game. against our 7th grade All-Stars, and it was a very good and fun night for everybody involved. And our 8th grade will wrap up their season this next Tuesday in Mount Pleasant. And so then they'll transition to basketball. Even though high school football has got another month, we're still going. And so we're going to keep working through all that. And there's some schedules out there. We just keep talking about this 3-game zone we're in.
Right.
Well, after this zone is over, that determines our next 2 ball games, who will match up. And it's all teams that we've not played yet in our big district. And so, anyway, we just hang on. So, I mean, even freshman parents, JV parents, they'll stay. Whoever the varsity plays, that's who the freshman and JV will play. So, we'll continue our season, hoping no more quarantines from anybody's teams,
right.
And we'll keep going. So, that stuff's still happening. So, you've got a lot of crossover here, volleyball, basketball, football, basketball now, just because of all the late start and everything getting pushed back. So, just hang on. It'll be a little hectic for us, and you can probably find a ball game somewhere in Sulphur Springs of some sport every night of the week at least. So there's a lot of stuff happening, and I hope we don't confuse you too much. But just like us as coaches, we live day to day. You never know what's going to change, what's going to happen today, and so it's just kind of hear what's on the schedule for today.
Yeah, talking to Coach Watson last Thursday, and I happened to mention, I said, you know, Coach, it was a Thursday that everything got called off for us. You know, we were all ready to go, ready to play Hallsville and just, you know, ready to go. And then 1 minute we are and 1 minute we aren't. And the next thing you know, you look up and you haven't played for 28 days. So,
yes,
you know, it's a day to day. And so kind of, and I did notice too that some of the Metroplex teams have gone to the same zone concept that we have gone to. I know the Garland District and several others that have done that for the same reasons. They've just had so many problems, and you've got to do something. So.
You just don't know. You get into it, you have plans. We had plan A, B, C, D, E, and F. I mean, but we're kind of sticking with the zone plan right now. So some schools jumped early and you can play every 5 days.
Yeah.
And so some have done that. That's an alternate plan for us, even within our zone plan, to still be able to do that. Because when we built our schedule and we met as a DEC when all this started, we all changed our schedule and we moved our open week to Thanksgiving. So that week was off. But that was also going to be a makeup week if we needed it. So any team that has to make one up, that's still there. Then there's another week after that before district certification. So all that stuff's kind of still into play. So again, we still meet week to week and we still discuss things. And you cross your fingers and hope you make it through that week and get to play.
Of course, it could depend on you know, how the seeding game goes and who we're matched with. But I know the first game we lost was to Crandall. Would that be made up Thanksgiving week for us, or you walk
not necessarily? It all depends on the seeding. So right now we're all on the seeding stuff. So after this week, we'll know in each zone 1 through 4.
Yeah.
So then that next week, ones will play, the 2s will play, the 3s will play, and the 4s will play against the other zone. Now, nobody's played already from zone to zone. All right, that we hadn't played except for Royce City and Corsicana. So if they were to match up, they would not play. The rest of us will play. And so we just kind of have to see, and it's a waiting game. Very unlikely unless we get matched up with an Ennis. All right, if we get matched, and I think maybe after last night, North Forney winning, I think North Forney secured the number 1 spot in our zone.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to us in Greenville right now for the number 2 spot in our zone. And so the only way we would host is if we got Ennis. The rest of the teams we would play from that other zone, we're on the road. Royce City, Crandall, and Forney. So what we said, whatever the original schedule was, that's where you would play that game, not by a seeding scenario where you're a higher seed or whatever. So you would play at that site. So more than likely, this might have been our very last home game unless we end up getting matched up with Ennis in could be the last ball game. If we get second seed, we could play them because we'll play a crossover game. I know I'm confusing everybody now. Inside the zone stuff, but could host them.
So that December 4th game will be somebody from the other zone.
Correct.
That you know, that's a good match we haven't played. And all
unless the most important one is the first zone matchup. After this zone is over, that's the first one to give the seeding for the whole district. After that, we would play a crossover. So the 1s will play 1s. Well, if we still have an extra week, the 1s will play 2s, and the 3s will play 4s, and the last week to give us our final game.
Yeah.
So if that makes sense. But again, that's assuming no quarantines and all that, and we didn't have to bump stuff around.
I even concocted a goofy thing where we could have a 3-way tie after North Forney where everybody was 1-2,
Yes, sir.
and I have no idea. I'm sure you guys have got all the tiebreakers
Yeah.
nailed down and all that.
That jumps back into all those point system rules and all that stuff
Yeah.
that you go back into. So, but with their win last night, it kind of pushes them in that spot. So now they got to win over us and Greenville. So they're in the driver's seat, and they'll be a #1 seed from our zone.
Yeah, in order to get that 1-2, 1-2, and all that kind of stuff, I think, well, I'm not sure. I don't think it can happen now, maybe.
No, it
because
can't now.
us and Greenville, one
Yeah.
of those is going to be 2 and
Yeah, it
1.
can't
So,
happen.
so that scenario's out. That would have been if something else would have happened.
And
last
both us
night.
and Greenville both beat Corsicana now, so Corsicana's out of the mix.
Yeah.
So it's really down to a head-to-head between us and Greenville for our zone.
Absolutely. That's a simple version.
Yes, sir.
And very clear to understand. I know we haven't gotten much into Corsicana. We'll do that heavily after we take our first internal break. Back in a moment. Back here on a Saturday morning coaches show, Wildcats win at home last night, 28-21, for a good crowd there for the senior night. And Coach, let's just talk about that game a little bit. A real fast start for the Wildcats, of course aided by a couple of fumbles that you jumped on, and you look up and you're up 21-0.
Yeah, I mean, just an overview of, I mean, man, it's good to win. I mean, it's just life's not about just a win or a loss. Some people it is, but it's good to affirm hard work, getting after it, especially not just for some 17-year-olds, but for some old 40 and 50-year-old guys, to kind of affirm, hey, you get a win. So, I mean, I'm excited for our kids. I'm really excited for our seniors. I'm just excited for our fans and all that kind of stuff, because it was like, yes, we finally overcame it, and, here we go. So we played some really good people. We've only played 4 ball games. It seems like we've been playing football forever, but we've only played 4 games. And we played some really good folks, and we finally got to play 2 games in a row. And I told you against North Forney, we got better, and we did get better. But they were just superior to us that day, and so here we are. And I thought last night we got better last night. We kind of started putting some things together. So game 4. So we're really not even a mid-season. By the time you start looking at games that have been played, and we're still talking about playoffs right now, and the district almost ending, and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of a weird scenario, and we're having a senior night. Now I don't want any mamas to hear this wrong, but I'm kind of glad to get that over with. Well, but I was also glad to have it, because there's 2 things I've always noticed on senior night. Your kids are super emotional and they play hard. And boy, do we need that. I mean, to be in this hunt where we're at right now. So the pressure's kind of off. I having senior night that last night, and you don't know where you are in the game, but and then to have it with all the emotion we needed, and the kids that's what we talked about going out, is we got to play with emotion. You cannot fake it in football. In football, you just can't fake going through the motions. You can't fake not playing with emotions and energy, and that's what they did. And so I was so excited for them and what happened, and their coaching staff and everybody. It was kind of like, get this monkey off our back and let's go. But it was good. But it was a hard-fought battle. I mean, it was a heck of a game back and forth, and you didn't know what was going to happen. We made a lot of mistakes in the ball game that let them back in the game or not finish it. But those, again, learning moments for us. But the game started out, couldn't have started out any better for us. You normally try to kick an onside kick and steal a possession. Well, we kicked it deep and still stole a possession, because Chandler Johnson, I mean, he's blazing down the field. He strips the ball from him. We come up with it, so we're setting the ball out on the 20-yard line, and then we're able to take it and go punch it in. And, it's kind of like, okay, here we go. And so it was really nice to see that. Our offense seemed to relax a little bit, and guys started making plays defensively, got after it, didn't have to defend as many plays. So a lot of that stuff's taking place there, and I mean, we just kind of got some rhythm going, and things just fell in our lap for a little while, and then they didn't. We didn't get that 4th and 1 down there, which would have put us up 28. Right. And man, I mean, other than they went and scored, so they tightened the gap up really right before we went in the offense. I mean, in the halftime. Yeah. And so, but kids persevered, came back, kept making plays, and made some big plays. Both sides of the ball did some things. And I don't want to steal your questions here, but I can ramble the whole time, but I'll let you ask me one. But
all right, well, let's talk about that second fumble, because that was something weird. It looked like to me like they tried to do a direct snap on 4th down to somebody else that wasn't the quarterback, and it must have hit a leg or something, ends up on the ground. Tell me your view
it was
of that.
It was their B-back guy. He was going in motion coming across. They just hit his leg. He was not a direct snap. He was going to the quarterback. I think they were fixing to run a power to that side. He comes across. They snapped it a little earlier. He was late on the go, and it hit his leg, bounced out, kicked over to us, and we fell on it, and here we go. We got the ball again. So that was really good. They did get their quarterback last night, number 3. James was back, and he's
3 touchdown passes.
He's a very talented young man. Now he's had a high ankle sprain. Thank goodness he couldn't run. He was not mobile at all. He just stayed in the pocket.
Yeah.
And but he's a talented guy. But they got him back, which was a new element. So congratulations to our defensive staff. They prepared for 2 game plans, one with him, one without him. Because without him, number 9, number 7, those guys can roll too, and that's what they've been doing, breaking long runs. So I thought our defense did a great job of not giving them that long run, that big play.
Yeah.
Made them have to earn the points they got and work their way down the field and just didn't give it up. Because they've been busting the big ones. 9 is the guy that's really hit the home runs for them. He's special. And
sophomore,
yeah,
and all over the field. He's a receiver. He's your Wildcat quarterback, or just a regular quarterback, or he's on defense. I think he's back there in the secondary. I mean, he is all over the field. The announcer for I have to sit here and think. I've drawn a blank. For Corsicana, said he was the best player on the team in his opinion.
Yeah, he's a talented young. Now he's not a passer.
No.
And they're limited. I mean, he's tried to throw in some other ball games. That's just not his deal. But you better account for him. He's a strong kid. He can run through tackles. I mean, really, he's going to be a handful. He's got a young ball club. They release some young kiddos. I mean, he played last night with 4 freshmen and bunch of sophomores and a small senior class. So he's got some young ones, and they're fighting through some things. And we called them at the right time, and we're excited about that. And we are. So proud of our kiddos and the way they battle.
It kind of reminded me of Ennis a couple of years ago. A lot of sophomores, they took their lumps. And obviously Coach Watson, he's just fighting to get a team on the field that won't have to cancel a game. And so he's dipped. He said he's just cannibalized his freshman and JV teams to keep putting players up, And those 4 freshmen, I mean, they are all over. They're playing heavy minutes.
Yeah, it's a challenge for everybody right now trying to figure all this out and get it going. So they keep pushing through it.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about something that one thing that we have not seen, the Wildcats with a couple of really, really long touchdown runs.
Yeah.
People look at Wallace, big, tall guy. You figure he's going to be kind of lumbering, and man, he can move.
He can move.
He got around the corner and made a great run. And then, in the first drive of the second half, Caden Davis takes off. And you could just see the joy, coming out as he makes that 68-yard run.
Yeah, Wallace he's not a sports car. All right, he's not real shifty, and he's not 0 to 60 in a hurry. But when he's like a train, once he gets to going, it's hard to slow him down. He can run. Did a great job for us in track year before last. I mean, running the 200. I mean, he's got some distance. He can stretch it out a little bit. So it was good to see him. He had a great game last night. He really did. He made some plays when he moved out of the pocket, found some guys. He went and got first downs. He made the long run. So I was excited for him. He made some really good throws. And some big plays at some big times. So, I mean, to me, that was his best game thus far, and really felt confident and pretty calm in the pocket, and everything seemed to be good for him, and he did have a pocket. So that was also big for him. So that's praise for the offensive line, too. And we'll talk about those guys in a second. And I was so excited for Caden Davis. So many times he's been so close to breaking the big one. I mean, the last 3 years, I mean, it's just been almost a shoestring here or there, but he finally broke one last night. I don't know, you may know what it was. It's roughly 60. I think
68.
68.
What we had it.
And so, I mean, it was a great run for him to see him do that and finish that. I was so excited for him to go finish that thing off. So, and he ran hard last night. He got some tough yardage. One just kept his feet moving to get in the end zone. Another to go get us a key first down. There were a lot of things in there that he did that were special, and he just keeps getting better. And I go back to this 4th game. We're kind of in the mid-season. This is kind of where you start seeing more improvement. You get these games under your belt, and you get that experience. That's kind of where we are now. If we can just keep playing week after week, and the team keeps getting better, that's how if you can stay healthy. That's how your team grows and how you get really pretty good.
Yeah, and just to kind of echo that, Lovejoy went 6-0 on the season this weekend, And North Forney obviously went 6-0. I haven't seen Wakeland to see how they did.
The only game Wakeland's lost so far has been Denton Ryan.
Number one in the state.
Number one in the state, so there you go.
Yeah, and their players, if you look at the stats in the Metroplex, that quarterback, both Lovejoy's and Wakeland's, and their receivers, and they're just all over the place. Their running back the Wakeland running back, number one in the Metroplex in rushing. So we've played some teams.
So our first three opponents are 17-1.
Wow!
Right now,
Unbelievable.
So they're playing good people. So it's hard for you to get confidence. You know, you're playing good people, and you understand that. But you need to have some successes along the way to gain some confidence in there. If you don't, you just keep getting beat down. That's hard on you. So it's good folks, but still, I mean, it is what it is. And so you kind of look back on that right now, and go, okay, maybe we still got better in some of those areas. We learned from those areas, and now we're seeing the fruits of our labor.
All right, very good. Second internal break, back with more right after this. And back here on the Saturday Morning Coaches Show, Wildcats over Corsicana 28-21. And Coach Owens is now going to analyze the different groups from offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, receivers, and all that stuff, Coach. So just kind of take them one by one.
Yeah, we talk about quarterback and the running back, and they've had good nights. And even JJ coming in at running back, he's just a spark now. I'm telling you, at any time that guy can hit the sideline and be gone. So just to get him loose. So he's a good change up from Caden, the big pounder, to kind of go in there. And then there's also Dougie Deloney that we didn't throw him in there much. He's playing a lot of outside linebacker last night.
Yeah.
But receivers, they did a good job. Really good job blocking. Did a great job of catching critical balls, and so that stuff was even improved and better and all that. And that's big. I mean, we can't get too far behind the chains too many times. But there's the simple 5-yard outs, catching those things. The drags were good. Guys making big catches on that. Cable Glenn caught a couple tough balls behind him. Yeah. C.J. Williams did a great job of catching the middle ball in there and taking shots and going through all that. Had one pop out of his hands that they intercepted on a little screen, and so we got to clean some of that stuff up. But I mean, they did a good job. And the O-line, as you mentioned, Sean Dial, sophomore force at right tackle, had a really good night. He had a good night. Fredo Alvide, he had a great night too at guard, and Sumjai Pryor was really good on the backside of digging stuff out and getting after it and being active and being physical. So those guys were exceptional. So offensively, just sigh of relief a little bit. Hey, we got to score some points here. Defense did a great job on special teams of putting us in a good position to score a short field and didn't have to drive 80 yards, and not have any mistakes there. So shorter field was nice for that kind of stuff and opened up your offense a little bit and gave you some options. So excited for those guys.
You talk about the O-line, you called them monsters, and that's the biggest defensive line I can remember.
Yeah.
280 pounds a man, and that guy on the nose is just incredible. And one of their defensive ends was a guy that fell back into coverage that intercepted that ball that was bounced around.
I'm going to pop your thunder there. He actually kind of was just too lazy, and he just happened to sit there and was getting blocked by some guy, and the ball popped in his hand. So anyway, the film revealed that.
Rather be lucky than good, huh?
It better be lucky than good. So he'll pat himself on the back for a long time for getting an interception, but he was a really good player. 62,
yes,
man, that guy was active, and we had not seen that out of him, that being that physical in the other ball games. But I mean, 99 played hard and did a great job. He messed up the middle bit, but I thought 62 was their most consistent and disruptive defensive lineman that they had, and he played hard.
Yeah. How about on the defensive side, the D-line, the linebackers?
Defense, did a great job. There were just key plays you go through there. Wiley Bennett jumps in my head right now. Wiley had a huge tackle. Broke up some passes. It was just again, I'm talking about a lot of seniors here too on some of this stuff that just had big nights. Doing all that. Chandler Johnson causing a turnover. Wiley the safety spot there. And up front, just guys flying. There were two inside linebackers. Wyatt Smithson had a great night too. He did a really good job inside. Getting along with Ryan. Those guys had a big night. Caden Eaton did a good job outside defending. We gave up some slant stuff early and all that, and he figured it out. Great defense on the pass in the end zone down there to deflect it, to keep him catching a touchdown. He just went up and battled with that guy. So really big nights for those guys, and the guys up front being active. Nick Cantillo at the defensive end spot had a really active night too. He was disruptive. He made things happen on the D-line for us. So they just kept going. And then we talk about, you probably have I don't have it, but there's another big line we just faced. North Forney last week, and these Corsicana, those guys are massive. I mean, they're just big old kids, and they just keep leaning on you. And if you don't keep rolling defensive linemen in, it's a long night. Those guys, it's hard pushing that weight around. Yeah. And so they just keep doing that and wearing you down. So I thought the coaches did a good job of getting fresh bodies in, and those guys getting after it when they're in there, and I need a break, and getting another one going. So DeAndre Peoples hadn't been on the field a few weeks, and so he was kind of gassed a little bit. He wasn't in a great condition, so guys were jumping in and out. They did a good job of circling guys in and making those things happen. So proud of them. Also, another one at safety was Bull. I thought that was probably Cordarian Turner, a.k.a. Bull. I thought that was probably his best ball game. He was active. He was physical. He was coming up making plays. He had a pass breakup. Right. Almost could have had a pick. He just knocked it down. Mm-hmm. It almost looked like he got his hand on it, but he did a great job of filling and tackling, and had, I think, his best ball game thus far in his career. So that was really good by him. But defense they made some stands, some really big stands, some really big plays. So proud of those guys. I mean, and they've been the workhorse this whole season. They just kind of kept us in it and kept on, and as offense kind of sputtered here and there. But again, we've not had many turnovers. So those turnovers are a big deal. I mean, it's a momentum swing. You get the ball back. So I mean, that was big for us last night, to get it early, kind of get ahead in the board, not be chasing somebody, make them chase you. And at the end, had to make some stops at the end, get the ball back. They did that. And it's nice to call the victory formation when the offense is out there and take a knee, man, and watch the time tick off the clock. So that was all good.
Yeah, it seemed like when Corsicana narrowed it down to a 7-point ball game, there was something like 9:49 left. That's a lot of time.
Yes, sir.
And about halfway through there or something, they came up on a 4th and 4. It looked like they were going to go for it, but I think it was just an attempt to draw offside, and then they waited too long and ended up taking 5, and after that they just punted.
Yeah.
And we did a great job of running out the clock, got some key first downs. Again, you talk about Caden Davis. He was really, really big, moving those chains and just wiping out the clock.
Well, I think the one you're talking about was Cable Glenn, had a nice little 5-yard out catch on the sideline with straight hands, and that now you get it 2nd and 5. Then you start pounding Caden in there. He gets your yardage. Then he lunges for a first down, and him and the O-line did a great job of that. So you just keep bringing doses of that stuff at them and keep them on their heels a little bit, and it turned out in our favor that way. We didn't give them the ball back. I mean, that's a nice thing. You don't want to be defending Hail Marys and everything else to the athletes that they have, at that point in time in the ball game.
Yeah, they had a timeout that they never used. It didn't mean anything when you got a first down. You can't take enough timeouts, and the clock's going to run out. So that was nice to see, and it's always my favorite play, taking the knee.
Yes, sir.
Love that. You call it the victory play, right?
Yes, sir.
And I love that one. Let's take one more internal break here, come back and talk a little bit about the challenge this week as we travel to Greenville to take on the Greenville Lions. Always a tough battle between our nearby rivals. So let's talk about that when we come back. And back here on the Saturday Morning Coaches Show, Wildcats beat Corsicana 28-21. North Forney wins last night over Greenville, and the game was pretty tight and close early, but North Forney wins 63-30. I believe that's right, Coach. And I'm not sure what's going on in the other zone. I guess Ennis is rolling, and Royce City sounds like they're rolling.
Ennis defeated Crandall pretty handily, and Royce City defeated Forney. And so that was a little, I think Forney scored maybe 20-something points. Royce City was around, 48 or 50, somewhere in there. But I think the other game, 57-25, I believe, with the North Forney Greenville game. So pretty comparable what our score was. So we as we go in talking about Greenville right now, I mean, it boils down to this as far as the opportunity to get in the playoffs. All right, so this is a playoff game, and it's what's crazy. It's come down to us a bunch. So if you were asking me right now who's the rival for the Wildcats, well, it's probably Greenville. Through the last few years, it's been we've been battling them to get in the playoffs, so they got to beat us to get in. Or we just had a lot of tight contests with Coach Duke and his crew, and so it's been tough. I know one over there, they were favored to win. We ended up winning a couple years ago, and it's just one of those tough deals, and it kind of knocked them out of the playoffs. So this is another one of those scenarios. It's just going to be a hard fought. I think two pretty even teams. They got the advantage on the speed, though. They got some kids that can fly, and they're really fast. So we got that challenge defensively to keep them corralled. They'll get their yards, but not give them the big play and give them the easy one. Make them earn it at least. So, but it'll be good. Kids will be juiced. They'll be fired up. Their guys are pumped. I know that they've created a lot of rivalry with us being here, and so, they don't like blue and we don't like red. So, here we go.
Absolutely. Kind of spread out the basketball season last year. Some of those football guys were on that team. They beat us over there. It was like winning the 7th game of the World Series. Boy, they celebrated. And then we had a big rematch over here, and it's just an intense situation. I remember several years ago, the teams wouldn't even shake hands at the end. Nobody wanted to even try that because they were afraid a riot would break out. And then they had the famous game where they were ripping our helmets off. Yeah. And that was frustrating the heck out of our guys, and it was causing fights and 15-yard penalties and all kinds of mess. So.
Well, it's pretty intense. Like you said, basketball and football, the big ones on the boys' side right now, and it's pretty heated. So, it's kind of just that close school. It's the old school rivalry kind of a deal. You're just neighboring towns, and you're just right on top of each other. Your kids, and they play each other and see each other all the time, and they know each other, and so it gets emotional.
It looks like they've got their veteran quarterback. Seemed like he's been there for several years. That Stevens name sounds familiar to me. And Coach Wasson, when I talked to him, he said, "Wow, Greenville is so fast." He said they just could not handle Greenville's speed, and that was his overall impression with them.
Yeah, there's a number 3, a slot receiver for him. They put him at tailback some, and fly motion, just getting the ball as quick as they can. He's the young man we kicked a pooch kick to last year, and the guy we kicked it to dropped the ball. We were keeping it away from 3. He dropped the ball. It bounced up in 3's hand, and we never touched him. Yeah. And so, everybody knows where he's at. And so we're paying attention to him. And they got another young man, number 10, that's been offered by quite a few places to go play ball. So we'll see what happens with him. He's a good-looking, tall receiver. He can also run. Quarterback's an athletic guy that moves it around. So they're a spread offense, a lot like us, and very similar in some other areas. They'll use a tight end, B-back, and do some of that. They're even on front on defense, and they move around quite a bit and been very aggressive. Hadn't dug into each one of the personnel guys yet, but that's just who they are. But again, you can't make mistakes. You can't give them the easy ones because of their athleticism. You got to be precise and do what you're doing and get bodies on bodies and go right at them.
Yeah, it seems I'm going to have to go back and review my notes, but when you mentioned that kickoff return for a touchdown, it seemed like straight up we played them pretty well, but there were just a couple of things like that are returns and for touchdowns and things like that. And I think it was only about a 10-point game anyway.
It was close, and there was 2 onside kicks. One was a pooch kick, one was an onside. Onside, they hit it on the bounce and didn't stop running. Yeah. And so they just got it, and we messed up on the guys taking the guy out, but won't relive that one. But yeah, it was within a touchdown of that ball game last year. So so we're aware of all that stuff. So it'll be a tight matchup.
Well, you can say, hey, we're a rivalry with this team or that team, but if you're beating that team 10 years in a row or something, it kind of fades as a rivalry. But when you're playing a team, again, with the playoffs on the line every time, something that's really, really important that you want, and they take it from you, and you take it from them, that's when you get the rivalry. Yeah. I don't care who you're playing. Yeah. White House, who thought that would be a rivalry, but there for a while, we were going back and forth, and that was as big a rivalry as we had every year. We were looking forward, to playing them more than Texas High or something.
And that was in football and baseball. That was kind of that's the 2 sports that we was kind of heated with that, because it's football and baseball players that were playing both and going against each other. So, and they had old Patrick over there then too. Yeah,
so. We saw a lot of him. Coach Hammock did have 2 playoff series with White House, and I think we lost both of them. They were a lot to. Mahomes was a pitcher for them and an infielder, and when he wasn't pitching, but he was, even as a freshman, he could bring it. So yeah, but that's funny how that develops. You just don't know. But we start playing somebody like Corsicana, or Ennis or somebody like that. If we get in there where we're battling them every year for a playoff spot, and right now it's Greenville, and there's the rivalry right there.
Yes, sir.
And a lot of those basketball guys were football players. They had that good defensive lineman, and I think one of their secondary guys were on that basketball team. So that was kind of a continuation of the same thing. But I don't know. There's just a lot between Greenville and Sulphur Springs. Like you say, we don't like the red, and they don't care for the blue and gold.
Yes, sir. You're right.
All right. Coach, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I know the coffee tastes better this morning, and everybody's in a better mood over there. Sound like you had to chase the players away because they wanted to see the film so bad. So I know they'll enjoy that film session, but there may be some that, we could get negative right here at the end. But that third quarter was kind of ugly with a lot of penalties on both sides.
Yeah, it got sloppy. I thought the officials maybe a little too touchy at some points and throwing them, but maybe they're trying to get it back in. But it caused them a lot more tension than anything else, it seemed like. So
yeah.
Sideline warnings and just holding call here, pass interference, yes and no calls. So it's started to be a tight game too. 21-28. Everybody's fighting. Every play matters. So that's good. Now we did have a young man last night, Stephen Janitis.
Right.
Stephen got hurt last night. He's okay. Everything from the hospital. Just appreciate your prayers for him as he continues to recover. But talked to Mom this morning and things are going well with him, and so he may be out for a little bit. But it was a head injury right there that he got a concussion with. So they took him up to the hospital and scanned him, make sure everything was okay. So she said he's feeling good this morning. So wishing him a speedy recovery.
Right, there's a protocol for that, and
Yes, sir.
He'll be cleared, we hope, at some point. So, yeah, that's good, because when we see a player, especially they're carried out on a board or something like that, or on the stretcher, your mind goes crazy thinking about what it could be. So, glad to hear that. I said last night he did play offense. They moved him to defense. And I think he's got what I would call a defensive mentality. I think you would agree with that. He's kind of nasty for an offensive lineman. I know it's good to have that, but those defenders tend to have their own attitude.
Yeah. Well, that's his natural position, and we had to have him at center because we just had to. He was consistent at snapping the ball, and he could do it. So,
yeah.
But he was willing to do that. Was a team player last year for doing those things. But he's naturally built for and wired to be a defensive guy.
Yeah. Absolutely. Coach Owens is a defensive guy, by the way, so he's wired the same way.
I'm mellow. I'm mellow.
He says he's mellowed out. We'll have to check that out. Coach, again, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
That's going to wrap it up for today, and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Julian, and so long, everybody.